My dad told me my kid means nothing, only my money matters. But when I cut them off, their perfect life collapsed in ways none of them saw coming. It's funny how you can spend months keeping everything running, work, bills, kids, schedules, school events, and still one small thing can make it all snap. For me, that thing was a kindergarten play. My daughter Stella, 6 years old, had been talking about it for weeks. She was the sun in her class play about weather, which meant she had to wear this bright yellow paper crown with glitter glued everywhere. She practiced her one line every night before bed: "The sun makes the world warm and bright." She said it with so much confidence, you'd think she was performing at the Oscars, and honestly, I was proud. I even saved 2 seats right in the front row with Nana and Grandpa written on sticky notes. My parents used to love stuff like that. When Stella was little, my mom would show up with little stuffed animals just because, and my dad would sit on the floor making animal noises until she cried from laughing. They weren't always cold. That's what made this worse. Somewhere around when Stella turned 4, when I was still trying to rebuild my life after Stella's mom walked out, they changed. It started slow, less visits, fewer calls, then the subtle digs. "You should have picked a better woman. You work too much. You spoil that girl too much." Classic backhanded comments dressed as advice. But I brushed it off. They were my parents. I figured they were just adjusting to the idea of being grandparents full-time, since Stella's mom was out of the picture. So yeah, I sent $800 every week for 8 straight months. Bills, groceries, utilities. I covered it. My dad hasn't worked in over a year, and my mom thinks online surveys count as income. I didn't mind helping. I thought family was supposed to do that. Anyway, graduation day. Stella was glowing, literally and emotionally. She kept looking at the door, asking if her grandparents were coming. They said they wouldn't miss it, she told me. I smiled and said, yeah, they'll be here. I even texted them a reminder 2 hours before the play. They didn't show. The show went on. Stella did her part perfectly. She looked right at those empty chairs, and her eyes got teary. That look broke my heart. I told myself, maybe traffic was bad. Maybe they got sick. Maybe anything. Afterward, while other kids were hugging their grandparents and getting flowers, Stella just said, "Maybe Nana and Grandpa are watching from home." That one hit me harder than I wanted it to. That night, after she went to bed, I sat down and checked my phone. No missed calls, no voicemails, just one text from my mom. "Tell Stella we said congrats." No emoji, no sorry, no excuse, just that. I stared at it for a solid minute before calling. I didn't plan to yell. I just wanted to hear what kind of excuse they'd come up with this time. My dad picked up. His voice sounded annoyed, like I'd interrupted a nap. "Yeah." "Why didn't you come?" I asked. "To what?" he said, like he didn't already know. "Stella's graduation. The one I told you about. The one you promised to come to." There was a pause, then this long sigh, the kind you give when you're done pretending. "Your kid doesn't exist to us anymore," he said. For a second, I thought I heard him wrong. "What did you just say?" He repeated it slower. "Your kid doesn't matter to us. Your money does. We're done pretending." And that was it. No explanation, no anger in his voice, just a cold statement from the man who used to hold my daughter on his lap. He hung up right after. I sat there for a while staring at the screen. My hand didn't even shake. I think I was too stunned to feel anything. Then it hit me. Not sadness, not even anger, just this wave of clarity. These people weren't my parents anymore. They were bills disguised as family. I opened my banking app, found every automatic transfer, every recurring payment labeled Mom and Dad, and deleted them one by one. $800 a week, gone. It felt like lifting a weight I didn't even know I'd been carrying. By the time I finished, my thumb was sore, and I realized I'd been holding my breath the entire time. The house was quiet except for the hum of the fridge. Stella's paper crown sat on the counter next to her backpack. She told me to keep it safe so Nana could see it next time. There wasn't going to be a next time. I didn't make some big emotional speech to the ceiling or write a dramatic post online. I just sat back, crossed my arms, and said out loud, "Not my problem anymore." That's the moment everything changed. I didn't know it yet, but cutting off that money wasn't just about finances. It was the start of burning down a whole fake version of family I'd been maintaining for years. They had no idea what was coming, and for once, I didn't either. I just knew I wasn't going to play their game anymore. The next morning started like any other. Stella was up before me, sitting cross-legged on the couch watching cartoons. I made coffee, opened my phone, and there it was, a text from Mom. "Can you order us dinner tonight? There's no food in the house, no good morning, no how's Stella." Just a demand, like she'd ordered room service and I was late delivering it. I stared at the message, sipping my coffee, then locked the phone and set it face down. I wasn't doing this again, not another penny. 2 hours later my phone buzzed again, but this time it was a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring out. A voicemail came through, so I hit play while packing Stella's lunch. It was a man's voice, polite but awkward. "Hi, this is Russell. I'm your parents' landlord. Sorry to bother you. I just wanted to check if the rent payment's delayed." I called him back. "Hey Russell. Yeah, this is Ethan. I won't be sending the rent anymore. They'll have to take care of it themselves from now on." There was a pause on the other end, that heavy silence where you can tell the person just realized they've been in the middle of something messy. "Oh," he said finally. "Okay, I just wanted to make sure everything was all right. You've always been really consistent." "Yeah," I said. "That's probably the problem." He chuckled softly, thanked me, and hung up. That afternoon, I came home from work to find another text from my mom waiting. "So you're really leaving your own parents with nothing? Are you proud of yourself?" Proud? No. Relieved? Definitely. I blocked the number. 10 minutes later, another text popped up from a new number. Same message, same tone. She must have been cycling through backup phones like a scam call center. Then came the Facebook DMs from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. "Hey, heard you're having problems with your folks. Everything okay? Why'd you cut your parents off like that? Your mom said you've been acting weird. She's worried about you." Of course they'd started the pity parade already. I didn't answer any of them. My parents always had this talent for rewriting reality. They could burn your house down and convince people you handed them the matches, and I'll admit it. I used to fall for it for years. I'd explain myself, try to keep the peace, justify things that didn't even need justifying, but not this time. That night, Stella sat on the floor coloring while I scrolled through old photos on my phone. They used to light up around her. Then Stella's mom left. She walked out one night and never came back. That's when everything shifted. My parents went from affectionate to judgmental overnight. My mom started saying things like, "Well, she's going to have issues growing up without a mother," or "No wonder she clings to you so much. Kids sense broken homes." My dad wasn't as direct, but his disappointment was loud enough. He'd make little jabs about real men keeping their families together, or ask when I was going to fix the mess. It's like they blamed Stella for something she didn't even understand. The colder they got toward her, the more I tried to compensate. I thought if I kept helping them financially, they'd eventually warm up again. Instead, they just got comfortable. By the time I realized they were only calling when they needed something, it was too late. I'd already built them a lifestyle. But now, sitting there watching my daughter hum while she drew, I realized something. Every minute I spent fixing my parents' problems was time stolen from her. She looked up at me. "Daddy, can Nana and Grandpa come over this weekend?" I smiled softly. "Maybe another time, sunshine." She nodded and went back to coloring. Kids are sharper than people think. She could tell something was off. That night, after Stella went to bed, I turned my phone back on just to check what new chaos they'd tried to start. My notifications were full. Missed calls from random numbers, Facebook messages, a couple of voicemails I didn't bother opening. Then a final message came through from my dad's number. "You think you're better than us? You'll see what happens when family turns their back on family." I stared at it for a second, took a screenshot, then blocked him too. I wasn't scared, just done. They could talk, spin stories, cry on the phone to whoever still listened. I didn't care, because for the first time in years I wasn't reacting. I was choosing, and I chose peace. I walked into Stella's room and watched her sleeping with her son drawing on the nightstand. She looked peaceful too. That's when it hit me. This quiet wasn't empty. It was the sound of getting my life back. I left my phone on the counter face down. If my parents wanted chaos, they could have it, but without me in it. 2 days passed before the silence broke. I was packing Stella's lunch for school when my phone started buzzing nonstop, unknown number again. I let it ring out, assuming it was another guilt trip. Then a text popped up from my brother Zach. "Hey, call me. Mom says there's drama. What's going on?" Perfect. The family PR team had reached stage 2 damage control. I called him back. "You got a minute?" I said. He sighed. "Yeah. Mom called crying. Said you screamed at Dad and cut them off for no reason. Said you told them never to talk to Stella again." "What happened?" I let out a laugh that wasn't really funny. "You really want the truth?" "Yeah. So I told him everything, the kindergarten graduation, the empty seats I saved, the tell Stella congrats text, and then the phone call where Dad said my daughter didn't exist to them, word for word. By the time I finished, there was silence. I could hear Zach breathing on the other end, slow and heavy. He said that exactly? Zach didn't say anything for a while. Then, in a low voice, he said, "Well, this is going to sound insane, but I've been sending them money too." I stopped. "What?" "Yeah," he said, almost embarrassed. "Mom told me you weren't helping them at all, said you were still behind on your own bills and sometimes borrowed money from them. I thought you were struggling, man." It took me a second to process that. "Wait, you thought I was taking money from them?" That's what she said. I didn't question it. I've been covering their cell phone bill, car maintenance, some groceries. I just stared at the wall, phone pressed against my ear, trying to hold in a laugh that came out more like disbelief. "So let me get this straight. While they were crying poor to you, they were telling me they couldn't survive without my help?" "Yup," Zach said flatly. "They've been double-dipping." Stella walked in holding her backpack, ready for school. I mouthed 1 minute, then stepped outside. "Zach," I said quietly, "they've been playing both of us for months." He swore under his breath. "Unbelievable. You still sending them money right now?" "I was," he said, "but not anymore. My wife's going to lose it when she hears this." And right on cue I heard muffled yelling in the background. She was already hearing it, apparently. Zach muttered, "Yeah, she's done with them. I am too." "Good," I said, "because we're cutting the cord completely." That afternoon I helped him go through every bill and payment they'd tied to us. We called the landlord first. "Hi, Russell, it's Zach." He said, "You might have been getting rent from my brother before, but my payments are stopping too. You'll need to deal with them directly." The landlord just sighed like he'd been waiting for this moment. Understood. I had a feeling this was coming. Next was utilities. My name was on their water and electricity accounts. Zach's was on their car insurance. We fixed it all in one afternoon. When we were done, we felt lighter, not happy, not angry, just clean. That night, I was reading Stella a bedtime story when my work phone, I hadn't blocked her there, lit up, Mom calling. Against my better judgment, I answered. The moment I said hello, she was already screaming, "How could you do this to us?" Zach called. "You turned him against us. You think cutting us off makes you better?" "Mom," I said calmly, "you lied to both of us. You told him I was taking money from you." "You were," she snapped. "You took everything from us, your time, your respect, your daughter." "My daughter," I said, tightening my grip on the phone. "You mean the one you couldn't be bothered to see at her graduation?" There was silence. Then the line clicked. She hung up. I called Zach again. "You good?" I asked. "Yeah, Mom called us too," he said. "Same script. Said you poisoned me against her. Sounds like she's sticking to the classics." He laughed dryly. "You know what, though? I'm done defending them. I already contacted our relatives, told them everything, screenshots, the call, all of it. I even mentioned the line about Stella not existing." "Wow," I said, "you're not holding back." "Why should I?" he said. "They always act like victims. Let everyone see who they really are." I sat back in the dark living room, letting that sink in. For years I'd thought keeping things quiet made me the bigger person. Turns out silence was just giving them more room to lie. A few hours later I got screenshots from Zach. He'd sent a message to the whole family group chat. Within minutes messages started flying in. Then one from our cousin Lauren. "Not surprised. They've been talking trash about you for years. Now everyone sees it." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Zach called again later that night. "I think we just started a war," he said, half laughing. "Good," I said. "Maybe it's time someone did." By the next morning, the family group chat had gone completely silent. No more messages, no defense, no fake apologies, just dead air. And that was fine by me. For the first time, the truth wasn't something I had to hide or explain. It was finally out in the open, and they couldn't twist it anymore. What I didn't know was that my parents were already planning their next move, and this time they weren't just going to lie behind my back. They were going to do it in front of the whole world. I didn't even find out from them. I found out from my coworker Sam. He messaged me during lunch, "Dude, are your parents on Facebook Live right now?" At first I thought he was joking. My parents could barely figure out how to send a group text without replying okay to everyone 50 times. But then he sent me the link. It was titled "The Truth About Our Son." 300 viewers and counting. I clicked. There they were. My mom sitting on the couch with a crumpled tissue, fake tears on standby, my dad next to her, arms crossed, jaw tight like he was testifying before Congress. My mom started with her practiced sad voice. We never wanted to talk about this publicly, but our son has left us no choice. That line alone told me everything. She continued, saying I had been financially abusing them for years, forcing them to take money they didn't want, then cutting them off to punish them when they didn't obey. Obey, she really used that word. Then came my dad talking like a politician trying to get sympathy votes. We tried to raise him right, he said. But some people just don't have gratitude. You give, and they use your own generosity against you. I just sat there in my car watching, jaw clenched. Then Mom took it further, and the worst part, she said, dabbing her eyes with a napkin, is his poor daughter. We're genuinely worried for her safety. Ethan's not stable. He needs help. I almost dropped my phone. Then my dad held up a printed photo of Stella from her graduation, her in the yellow paper sun crown, smiling, and said with a straight face, "This child does not exist to us. She is not our family." That's when I turned it off. It felt like watching strangers wear my parents' faces. Later that night, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. The video had been shared all over Facebook. My parents had 400 live viewers by the end, mostly from their church and old friends. A few were eating it up, but most people weren't buying it. The comment section was full of question marks and disbelief. Wait, you said his daughter doesn't exist? This is messed up. You need therapy, not Facebook. I didn't respond to any of it. Zach called me the next morning, you see it? Yeah, I said. They lost it. He said, half shocked, half disgusted, Mom told the whole internet that Stella isn't safe with you. Then Dad actually doubled down and said you brainwashed me. Sounds like they've been busy, I said flatly. By noon, the video had been shared over 50 times. My aunt texted me screenshots. A few of Mom's church friends were defending them, but others were calling it a public meltdown. And then came the fallout. The first call I got was from the landlord again, Russell. He sounded awkward. Hey, just so you know, someone sent me that Facebook video. I'm sorry to say this, but I'm terminating their lease. It's not about you, it's about, well, that video. It's disturbing. I said I understood. He didn't owe them anything. The second incident came 2 days later. My coworker texted me another video link, this time from a local gossip page, Target meltdown. A Karen screams over declined card. I opened it. There she was. My mom standing at a checkout lane yelling at the cashier because her card got declined. This is discrimination. You people don't respect elders. People around her were filming. Someone laughed. Another voice said, "Isn't that the lady from that Facebook video?" The next morning, their church quietly removed them from the volunteer list on their website. No explanation. Just gone. A week earlier, my parents were pillars of the community. Now they were the cautionary tale people whispered about in checkout lines. I wasn't enjoying any of it. Watching your own parents self-destruct in HD isn't satisfying. It's exhausting. 3 days later, Zach texted me. You might want to see this. He sent me a screenshot. Dad, Facebook profile wiped clean. No posts, no photos, no friends list. Mom's account deleted entirely. They'd scrubbed everything. Their lies had collapsed under their own weight, and all I had to do was stand still, let them talk, let them burn every bridge they built. Because the more noise they made, the quieter my life got, and I liked it that way. It stayed quiet for a while. Then one Thursday afternoon, I got a text from Zach that read, "You're going to love this. Uncle James is hosting a reunion." Uncle James, my mom's older brother, old school guy, doesn't use social media, doesn't gossip, just sits back and watches people make fools of themselves. He'd probably only heard pieces of the chaos from cousins and decided to bring the whole family together to talk it out. I wasn't invited. No surprise there. I'd officially been labeled the ungrateful son. Still, curiosity got the best of me. I told Zach to keep me updated in case something went down. Saturday rolled around, and sure enough it did. Around noon, Zach called me. Guess who just showed up to the reunion? Let me guess, I said. The stars of The Truth About Our Son. Yep, dressed for church and everything. They walked in like the Pope and his assistant. I leaned back in my chair. What are they doing there? Same thing they always do. Trying to rewrite history, Zach said. Of course they were. He kept me on the phone while pretending to mingle, so I could hear snippets in the background. My mom's voice carried across the room. He cut us off for no reason. We supported him when his life fell apart, and now he's keeping our granddaughter from us for control. Then my dad chimed in. Full of fake authority, he's just bitter. Always has been. You know how he is. Thinks being a single dad makes him some kind of hero. If he couldn't keep his family together, that's on him. That one hit different. They'd never said it so openly before, but I'd heard the tone 1,000 times. To them, being a single dad wasn't something respectable. It was a mark of failure. They used to say things like, A kid needs a real family, not just a man pretending to be both parents, or no wonder you're still single. No woman wants to step into that mess. Meanwhile, I was working full-time, packing lunches, helping with homework, and making sure Stella never went without. But to them, it wasn't enough because I didn't have a woman next to me doing half of it. Zach lowered his voice. They're saying you manipulated everyone, that you made me turn against them. Let them talk, I said. They've been rehearsing that story for years. Then I heard another voice cut through the room. Lauren, my cousin, mid-20s, loud, confident, and allergic to BS. Wait, are you seriously sitting here blaming him when you went online and said his daughter doesn't exist? The room went dead silent. I could practically hear the air shift through the phone. Mom tried to laugh it off. Oh, honey, that was taken out of context. Lauren wasn't buying it. Out of context. You were on video. You literally said she doesn't exist. My dad snapped. You don't know what you're talking about. Lauren didn't back down. Actually, I do because I saved the video before you deleted it. That's when Zach whispered, oh, she's about to light them up. A second later, I heard muffled noise, chairs moving, people whispering, and then a familiar voice on speaker. It echoed through the entire hall. Someone gasped. Someone else muttered, Jesus! Uncle James, who'd been silent until that moment, finally spoke, enough. My mom tried to defend herself. James, you don't understand. He cut her off. No, I understand perfectly. You just told everyone here that your granddaughter doesn't exist. You think that's something you can explain away? My mom started tearing up again. The same fake sob she used on Facebook. He turned everyone against us. Ethan poisoned this family. He's been manipulating Zach since day one. Then Uncle James dropped the hammer. If that's how you treat your granddaughter, you don't belong here. My dad's face probably went red. You can't talk to us like that. James didn't even flinch. I just did. Zach whispered. They're leaving. Mom's crying, Dad's fuming, everyone's staring. I couldn't help but grin a little. Guess the truth finally made the guest list. Zach called me again later that night, half laughing, half stunned. You know what's wild? They went there to rebuild their image and ended up nuking it completely. Yeah, I said, leaning back in my chair. That's what happens when you try to lie to people who finally know the truth. He chuckled. Uncle James looked like he aged 10 years dealing with them. He's probably wondering why he didn't listen to us sooner, I said. We didn't celebrate. There wasn't anything to celebrate. Watching your parents self-destruct in public doesn't feel like winning. It just feels necessary. But it was done. They'd finally shown everyone who they really were. And the best part was I didn't have to say a single word. After the reunion, I figured the fallout was over. My parents had humiliated themselves in front of everyone who still tolerated them. The video had done its job. No one could pretend they didn't know the truth anymore. But I should have known better. My family has a long memory, and some of them don't just watch drama, they respond to it. 2 days after the reunion, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. When I picked up, a voice I hadn't heard in years said, So I finally see what your parents have been up to. It was Grandma Patty. If there's one person you don't want to get on the bad side of in our family, it's her. Former Army, wears press shirts even at home, the type of woman who doesn't shout, doesn't repeat herself, and doesn't bluff. I hadn't seen her since Stella was born. She sent a gift that year, a small blanket and a handwritten note that said, May she grow stronger than the people who disappoint her. Back then I thought it was just a nice quote. Now I realized it was a warning. Grandma, I said carefully. You heard about the reunion? Oh, I heard about it, she said, voice firm but calm. Your mother's crocodile tears. Your father's smug face. That poor child's picture being held up like a prop. I saw all of it and I've had enough. I leaned against the counter, smiling a little. I don't think anyone's ever told them that before. Well, she said, someone needs to. When Grandma Patty says something like that, she doesn't mean an argument, she means action. By the next morning, she'd already gotten to work. Zach called me first. You're not going to believe this. Grandma's writing a letter, like a formal one. A letter? Yeah, the kind that could double as a legal document. She's typing it, signing it, and mailing copies to everyone in the family. She said she's making a statement. That was Grandma for you. If she couldn't fix a mess quietly, she'd destroy it publicly with structure, grammar, and receipts. A few days later, she called me again. I just wanted to let you know the letter's been mailed. Every cousin, aunt, uncle, and your parents are getting one, and so are you and Zach. You'll have it tomorrow. Should I ask what's in it? I said. You don't need to, she replied. You already lived it. She hung up. The next day, the letter arrived in a cream envelope with her signature in bold cursive. It started simple. To the family. What happened has left me with no choice but to clarify where I stand and where this family stands. And then the part that changed everything. I am updating my will. All shares, assets, and property previously designated to your parents are revoked and will be divided equally between Zach and Ethan. This decision is final. It is not punishment. It is consequence. I read it twice, slowly. Then came the ending line, the one that would probably echo through every family conversation for years. You are no longer part of this family, not because we disowned you, but because you chose to disown a child. That was Grandma Patty in one sentence. Cold truth dressed like a command. By the end of the day, everyone in the family had received a copy. I knew because my phone started blowing up with messages. She really did it. Your parents must be losing it. This is the wildest thing Patty's ever done. And it didn't take long before my parents reached out too. That night my phone buzzed with a new message from my mom. A photo of Grandma's letter, crumpled and tear-stained, sitting on their dining table, underneath one line of text, "I hope you're happy now." I didn't respond because the truth was I wasn't happy, not exactly. What I felt was something different, relief, the kind you get after a long storm finally stops, even though you're still standing in the mud. A few hours later, Zach called me, laughing quietly. Mom's been calling everyone, begging, telling them Grandma's losing her mind. "How's that going for her?" I asked. "She called Aunt Jenna first," he said. "You know what Jenna told her? If Grandma Patty cut you out, that's all I need to know." I chuckled. "That's cold. That's Patty," he said. The next day, it was everywhere. My mom's old friends stopped returning her calls. Her church group chat removed her number. Even her Facebook friend count dropped to 0 within a week. They tried damage control again, called Grandma directly, begging her to reconsider. After Russell finalized their lease termination, he decided to put the house up for sale rather than re-rent it, said he'd had enough of the drama. According to Zach, that call lasted less than 30 seconds. Grandma told them, "You made your bed. Now sleep in the silence you created," then hung up. By Sunday, Zach and I both got thank you cards from Grandma in the mail. Not letters, cards. Inside mine, she wrote, "You did the right thing. You protected your daughter. That's what good fathers do. Don't ever let anyone make you feel wrong for it." That one actually hit me harder than the will update. The fallout from Grandma's letter was brutal and fast. Within a week, my parents were officially frozen out. Family events stopped including them. Their church replaced them on the committee roster. Even their landlord, tired of their drama, listed the property for sale. They were ghosts now, alive but erased. My parents had finally run out of lies to tell, and I finally had nothing left to clean up. A week after Grandma Patty's letter circulated through the family, I sat in my car outside my lawyer's office, watching the rain slide down the windshield. I'd been putting this off for months, but now that everything was exposed, it was time to make sure it stayed that way. I wasn't going to let my parents find another angle. Not another fake apology. Not another "we were misunderstood." Not another stunt. They'd already weaponized guilt and lies. Inside, my lawyer Claire looked up from her computer and smiled when she saw me. "You're here," she said. "Yeah," I replied, setting my folder down. "It's time to lock this down." She raised an eyebrow. "Lock what down exactly?" "My parents," I said simply. "I want a long-term no-contact order. Something that keeps them away from me and Stella for good." Claire nodded slowly, not surprised. "You mean a restraining order?" "Yeah," I said. "As long as it lasts, and I'll renew it if I have to. I just don't want them near us again, ever." She pulled out the paperwork. It was thicker than I expected. She explained each section: phone contact, physical proximity, even school and medical access. It wasn't about revenge. It was protection. I wasn't leaving a single door unlocked. "I also want to add a clause to my will," I said. "Guardianship?" she asked. "Yeah. If anything happens to me, Stella goes to Zach and his wife. No debate, no loopholes." Claire smiled faintly. "You're thorough. I like it." I laughed softly. "You learn from experience." We went through every line carefully. I initialed, signed, and dated. Each signature feeling like another layer of armor between Stella and the chaos that used to be our family. By the time we finished, the rain had stopped. The air outside felt cleaner somehow, like the sky had exhaled with me. A month passed. No calls, no fake Facebook accounts, no "we're sorry" texts that weren't sorry at all. Nothing. And in that quiet, Stella changed. She started sleeping through the night again. No more waking up from nightmares where she dreamed her grandparents didn't like her. A few weeks later, Grandma Patty called. "Sunday lunch," she said. "No excuses. I'm cooking." Zach and I showed up at her place around noon. She lived in one of those old brick houses with a porch swing and a flag out front that hadn't faded in 20 years. The table was covered with real plates, not paper ones, and Grandma had set out place cards like it was Thanksgiving. "Didn't think this was a military operation," Zach joked. Grandma gave him a look. "I didn't raise slackers. Sit down." Suddenly, the sound of tires crunching over gravel broke the calm. Grandma Patty stood up first, shading her eyes from the sun. A beat later, her expression hardened. It was them. My parents' old beige sedan rolled to a stop at the end of the driveway. The doors opened slowly, like they were stepping out of a wreck they caused but didn't want to admit to. They looked drained. My mom's hair was a mess, and my dad looked 10 years older than he had a month ago. They didn't even notice me or Zach at first. They went straight for Patty. "Mom," my father started, voice trembling, "you have to listen to us. Everyone's turned against us. The church won't talk to us. Our friends stopped answering. Even our landlord won't give us another chance. We have nowhere to go." Grandma Patty didn't flinch. "I told you what would happen," she said calmly. My mom stepped forward. "You don't understand. People think we're monsters. That video, that letter—" Patty cut her off, her tone sharp but level. "That letter was the truth. You're just upset because the truth finally stuck to you." My mom started crying, the same rehearsed sob she used on Facebook. "We made mistakes, okay? We just want our family back." Patty crossed her arms. "You didn't make mistakes. You made choices, over and over. You humiliated your children, denied your own granddaughter, and when you lost control, you blamed everyone but yourselves. These," she gestured toward the porch, "are your consequences. Deal with them." My dad tried to hold his ground. "You can't just throw us away like that. I'm still your son." Patty's eyes went cold. "No. My children are the ones who protect family, not destroy it. You stopped being that a long time ago." The air went heavy. Even the kids went quiet. Stella was sitting on the porch steps holding a bubble wand, staring at the scene like she knew exactly what was happening. My mom took a step toward her. "Stella, sweetheart." Patty's voice sliced through the air. "Don't." My mom froze mid-step. "You don't get to say her name," Patty said, her voice low but firm. "You gave up that right the moment you said she didn't exist." Silence, just the sound of the wind and a bubble popping in the distance. They stood there for a few seconds like they were waiting for someone to break, waiting for guilt to crawl back into the room, but no one said a word. Finally, my mom whispered, "We have nowhere else to go." Patty didn't even blink. "Then maybe it's time you figure out what it feels like to stand on your own. The rest of us already had to." My dad opened his mouth, but whatever comeback he had died on his tongue. They turned, walked back to the car and drove off slowly, like people who finally realized the show was over. When the sound of the engine faded, Grandma Patty let out a slow breath. "They thought love meant control," she said quietly. "It doesn't. It means responsibility, and they failed it." And that was it. No more words, no more apologies, just silence. The kind that doesn't feel empty, just earned.